The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Friday. I guess it's going to be the 20th because last Friday was Friday the 13th when everything started to pop off. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. You could have been anywhere in the world today. Well, I guess you couldn't be anywhere in the world today. California is on a full lockdown around the globe. Cities are shutting down, sheltering in place, trying to flatten the curve of the coronavirus. And so I guess, literally you couldn't be anywhere in the world today, but you could have chosen not to listen to this podcast. And because you are listening and you are downloading and you're supporting it, thank you so much. Thank you for yesterday. It was really hard yesterday. Like I have my moments, right? Most of the time I can be objective about a situation. I can laugh about it. I can help us navigate through. It's really a gift, I guess you could say. But yesterday I just could not record anything without just the angry side of me coming out. And I know a lot of people are like, well, Ben, listen, okay, let me just be sure. I've got a lot of news to cover. We're going to cover the news. Okay. I've got all this stuff happening with the senators who are possibly guilty of inside trading. Instead of alerting America about the coronavirus, what they did was they stole their stocks. They sold their stocks. We're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss the shutdown of California. We're going to discuss so many things because the news does not wait on my emotional journey. And so yesterday, I want to thank you for affording me a day to just speak from my heart versus put on a show. Yeah. And so I know a lot of people, but I just want to finish some commentary on yesterday's podcast that I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a significant piece. I think, I went back and listened to it and it is it's something I would stand by all day, every day. That the only way that we're going to survive this is if we change. We have to change how we operate as a collective body. This is not any one individual's fault. It is the fault of all of us collectively. And it's kind of like, how do you blame everyone collectively? Like none of us really chose capitalism, but we all are active participants in capitalism. And this virus is uniquely tuned. It seems like this virus has our number, able to bring down our economy in shorter time than it takes for the symptoms of the virus to show up. I mean, I think the unemployment numbers have, the unemployment claims has skyrocketed tenfold in a day. And so yesterday was really, everything was kind of piling up on top of me. And I was really furious, and I still am. I'm furious about how we as a society have designed our system to be so pernicious, so just evil, that it profits off the pain and suffering of every one of us, right? And those factors play directly into the exacerbation of this virus, right? Of the effects of this virus, of the death total. You have a case in point. One of the reasons I'm so furious, I didn't find out this story until last night, but maybe I was just, time is irrelevant. This stuff is going to happen. Like it's just here. People operate like this because this is what capitalism dictates. There is a manufacturer who is charging about $7 per face mask when they normally cost 48 cents per face mask. They are price gouging in the middle of a pandemic, not because the cost has increased to produce it. And I think the thing is that most people are okay. I think even the staunchest socialists, notice I didn't say communist. Okay. Notice I did not say communist. Big difference. But I think even the staunchest socialists would be okay with someone making a modest profit. The problem is that the way we are designed as human beings, we're never satisfied. And so a modest profit always gives way to price gouging in times of crisis. At least that's what American capital, at least that's what it looks like for us. I can't speak for any other nation. I mean, I guess I can do some Googling and find out what the price gouging is like overseas. But right now here in the United States, price gouging. And that infuriates me because that is exactly the type of behavior that's going to get more people killed. And then on top of that, the disingenuousness and the gaslighting more than anything else, but the disingenuous. Okay. I am one thing I'm grateful for is because I don't know that I could handle my show if I took myself as seriously as I get sometimes. I don't think any of you could handle my show if I took myself as seriously as I get sometimes, but I digress. What was I talking about? The price gouging, the gaslighting. There it is. It takes a second. I usually don't tell you. I usually just filibuster until I figure out what the hell I was talking about. The price gouging, yes, infuriates me. The disingenuousness of our politicians and some key players in this conversation, it does infuriate me. The gaslighting, though, it's the gaslighting that's going to turn me from being an inspirational cat to being like just burn us all down. And because, and I'm coming full circle to those of you who were like yesterday, Ben, you really wanted me to just release the first 3 tries of the podcast yesterday, where it was like, F this, F that, F this, God, But the problem is I have to stay away from that space. I don't stay away from that space because I'm afraid it's going to offend you. I stay away from that space because once I go down that road, well, I'm a totally different person. I have to stay. Have you guys seen the Lego movie? Everything is awesome. Everything is, that movie. I saw it years ago. And and the pony. There's the character in there that's the pony, that's bright and happy and cheerful and trying her best to be as positive as she could be. But then it just got a little bit too much for her. And you saw her eyes start twitching and her neck started contorting. And she just you could see that she was physically trying to suppress the rage in her. And then she let loose and destroyed everything. I pretty much think that's how it goes with me. I think that's me. Yeah. I think it's imperative for me to hope that we're going to be fine, to hope that we're going to be better. I have noticed, though, irony. Fate is not without a sense of irony, it would seem. I have noticed that some of my predictions that I make in hopefulness are wrong. But the predictions that I make in my frustration and my anger or my, the negative balance of my life are pretty much accurate. Because I called it about Tulsi Gabbard. I am not going to be an I told you so. And I'm not going to talk about that much more because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that I care too much about American politics in the sense of this upcoming election, because it is clear that no matter who is elected, unless it's Bernie Sanders, because really, if you look at the sea of all the conversations, there's really only one person in the midst of this pandemic who's trying to offer policy solutions that is going to help us survive this. And whether you like him or not, that is Bernie Sanders. Now, short of Bernie Sanders, I honestly don't think that this election even matters. Yeah, quote me on that. Quote me on that. Because where is Joe Biden in the leadership of this pandemic? Right? Where are the centrists? Where are the moderate Democrats? Well, they're actually on the opposite side of trying to get some work done. Granted, Republicans, what they're offering really isn't about much. I'll go over their plan and what they're proposing, how much they're proposing to send people who make above $75,000, and then they plan on sending a different amount to people who make less than $75,000 a month in order to keep money in Americans' hands while they are unemployed during this pandemic. We'll go over that in great detail. But at the same time, I think every single one of our elected officials up there right now at this point, we're almost, we need a snap election like they do in the UK. We need to get rid of everybody up there. Save maybe 5, 10 maybe. But we are being led by people who are malignantly incapable of doing something good for the people, even in the face of a pandemic. All right. Like, why are not these things done? Why don't we have the checks already? Why don't we have, why are we not prepared with additional hospitals being built, respirators being built, even if they're temporary hospitals, converting gymnasiums into hospitals? Why are we not having the military, the MASH units, the medical units of the military supplement and build these 500 unit hospitals that they build on the fly in combat operations? Why don't we have all of these? Why are we still not ordering places to shut down? Not only are they not doing anything effective, like California did shut down. We'll talk about that. Not a lot of people, but I see a couple of people moaning and complaining about that. Listen, you can talk about liberty all you want. You can talk about your freedom all you want. You don't have freedom when you're dead. Okay. And apparently, as I asked a couple of days ago, because I'm all for freedom, I'm all for liberties, I'm all about our privacy and our right to move around this country as free moral agents. But when we're too stupid as a species to do what's necessary on our own accord, then apparently it is necessary for the government, like California, to step in and say, sit your ass home. Apparently. Now, I would rather it be said about humans that we had a social contract amongst ourselves that when in times of danger, we could collectively move into action without the need of a benevolent dictator or government. I really wish I could say that about Americans. But have you seen how many people are still in the streets? We took a drive yesterday. We didn't get out the car. We just loaded up. I closed the vents and made sure that we just were kind of isolated inside of our car. We drove around and everything is going on as normal in Atlanta. Everything is going on as normal in Atlanta. The only difference is you can't go inside of some restaurants. Some restaurants you have to go through the drive-thru, but other restaurants are open. And so I don't think it's the case. No, let me just say straight up. We're not mature enough as a society, as a species, to be able to hold a social contract between us that we can collectively take action for our own mutual benefit without the need of government. And so while I admire this idea in my head, I really love the idea in my head that we could stand on our own free will and our own free agency and say collectively, hey, this is what we need to do, so let's do it. No, we got a whole lot of stupid people out there who insist that, oh, it's just the flu. Do me a favor. Go lick a couple of tabletops and let me know how that flu feels. Go do that. Or not. Don't, it's not, I'm obviously not honestly telling you to go do that for all of the intentionally obtuse people in my audience. Not in my audience, but who are coming by just to find something that they can try to use against me. But I digress. The point is that yesterday was a culmination of all the frustrations, of the gaslighting, of the disingenuous actors, of the fact that we've designed a system that's perfectly tuned to be brought to its knees in a matter of days. A system that exploits us, a system that profits off the suffering of all of us. And yesterday was really kind of like the tipping point for me. And I had a choice to make, like either I go down this road of the dark side or I try to keep speaking positivity and hope inside of our situation, because ultimately at the end of the day, no matter what I do, I'm still going to be hopeful that we will survive this, and not only survive this, but thrive. I have to look at a year and a half from now when this is finally contained because we have a vaccine. I don't know if I really said that to you straight out, but there's a good possibility unless some type of miracle happens, we're going to be sheltering in place for potentially a year and a half. And the only way I can survive that madness is by seeing a brighter path forward for all of us after this storm has passed. The way I see it is the sun is shining on the other side. We're just passing through the storm. And so because I made a conscious decision to do that, that's why yesterday, you could hear in the podcast, go back and listen to it. If you haven't heard it, share it with somebody. But you could hear me struggling between hopefulness for our society, our species for that matter, because it's not an American thing. This is a global pandemic that has the ability to cause lasting damage beyond the pain and sorrow of losing friends and loved ones. Now, I know that sounds kind of callous, but I think at the end of this, the damage that this has done to our structure, our societal structure, the way we've organized ourselves, if we don't change and start doing things smarter, doing things better, stop rewarding greed. If we literally, like this virus, it's like Mother Nature said, look, you're not going to fix the problem, so I'm going to fix the problem, right? I don't believe by any degree, no evidence suggests to this point that it is a biological weapon. So when I say that this is perfectly tuned to destroy us, I say that because of us, not because of it, because there are so many scenarios from which we could easily survive this virus. But everything that we do in our society, from our disingenuous politics to the gaslighting of our politicians being done by our politicians, to our system rewarding the greedy, everything, to our individualistic nature and our inability to take collective action without the force of government, and then our government's unwillingness to go ahead and do what's necessary and tell these people to stay their asses home. All of these forces combined make us uniquely vulnerable to this virus. All right, patron party coming up, and then news and politics.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Here we go. Very special welcome to all of our newest patrons without whom this show is not possible. Very special welcome to Madeline. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Lori Roberts, thank you for becoming a patron. Robinson Karanja, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you for becoming a patron. Very special welcome to David Royster. Thank you for becoming a patron. Bethel Ande or Bethiel And, depends on how we're going to pronounce it. Thank you for becoming a patron. Very special welcome to Kia Guest. Very special welcome to Mika and C. James, and I believe Craig Johnson. I want to make sure I get Craig in there just in case I missed him the other day. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/The BPD Show, getting twice of the content with none of the ads that you're going to hear right here. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I don't know why I feel the need to do that every single time it comes back. But welcome back. All right. One of the biggest failings of my personal failing is that I try to not assume that someone can just be a Disney villainesque type of individual who's purely motivated by nefarious intentions. In other words, even though I believe in evil, it's just hard for me to look at another human being and just conclude, yep, that person is extremely evil. But I'm not sure what else you can conclude about these senators who, after they got a confidential top secret security briefing about the severity of the coronavirus and the impacts it will have on our economy, you had several senators, instead of going to warn the American public, this was back in January, when we had enough time such that enough noise being made back then would have meant like maybe 1,000 deaths. Maybe. We could have flattened the curve. Do you know how much preparation we could have had in place since January? But instead of warning us, See, this is where the dark side of me comes out. Because people like this, who would, instead of warning us to protect us and save lives, they went out and traded their stocks, their shares in companies that were going to be the most vulnerable to the crash, the subsequent crash that came. And they saved millions of dollars. Elected officials, predominantly Republican. I think that there is potentially one Democrat in this, but we don't deal in false equivalencies on this show, so we're going to parse the difference if there is any. And if there is no difference, then this Democrat can catch these rhetorical hands as well. It was so bad. Kelly Loeffler, who's a senator here in Georgia, she has only been a senator for 3 months. She was appointed back in January 2020 by the new governor, what's that dude's name? Whatever our new governor is. The one that stole the election from Stacey Abrams. Oh yeah, no, it is Brian Kemp. Okay. Anyway, he appointed her in January, and then January 14th, I believe, they had this top secret, confidential meeting, security briefing about the coronavirus. And what does she do? She goes and trades like 1.7 million in shares in companies. And not a word from her about the severity of the coronavirus. So you have a double whammy. It's not just her. You have Senator Burr. We discussed him the other day. He was the one who had this private meeting with his constituents, and he warned them about the severity of the coronavirus, but did not warn America. It's so bad, in fact, that Fox News host Tucker Carlson is calling for this Republican senator to resign and face prosecution. Take a listen in.
So you may have seen the news reports this afternoon. The chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee sold more than $1 million in stock in mid-February after learning how devastating the Chinese coronavirus could be. He had inside information about what could happen to our country, which is now happening, but he didn't warn the public. He didn't give a primetime address. He didn't go on television to sound the alarm. He didn't even disavow an op-ed he'd written just 10 days before claiming America was, quote, better prepared than ever for coronavirus. He didn't do any of those things. Instead, what did he do? He dumped his shares in hotel stocks so he wouldn't lose money. And then he stayed silent. Now, maybe there's an honest explanation for what he did.
There's not.
If there is, he should share it with the rest of us immediately. Otherwise, he must resign from the Senate and face prosecution for insider trading.
Yep.
There is no greater moral crime than betraying your country in a time of crisis.
Exactly. I mean, Tucker Carlson gets it right. Now, let's be sure Tucker Carlson has to get it right. Because this is so egregious that I don't think Republicans could survive trying to spin this and, try to spin this in a way that is favorable, that's going to salvage Republicans. I think this is so bad that Donald Trump himself is going to have to call for these people to resign. But then that's just my naivete speaking, because I don't think there's anything that will move. Donald Trump is probably going to tweet in favor of them today. So let me just correct myself. Again, like I said in the opening monologue, that it's usually my predictions that are based on my optimism that are wrong. For example, my prediction about Tulsi Gabbard, spot on, but it wasn't one out of optimism. But I digress. The point is that this is so egregious that Republicans, I don't think that they could stand by it. And that's why you see Tucker Carlson coming down on the right side of this issue. But back to the objectively abhorrent, downright nefarious and evil behavior by these senators, our elected officials. It's hard for me to fathom the level of evil that you have to be operating on. And I know a lot of people in my audience are like, Ben, can you not a lot of people, there's maybe like 3 of you who regularly email me and be like, can you hold off of the moralizing and the moral judgment and calling people evil? I don't know what else to call this. When you can know that a virus is coming, that is going to potentially, if we don't stop it, it could kill millions of people. And you are in a position of power and authority and information such that you can help stop it, or at least flatten the curve significantly. But what do? You go out and sell your... Now, here's the thing about Kelly Loeffler. She is worth personally $500 $1 billion. She is personally worth $500 million, and she's married to the chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. So their wealth goes way beyond her personal wealth. That's her personal wealth. That's not her husband's wealth. Okay. They are so wealthy that Kelly Loeffler, for a birthday present, he purchased her part ownership in a WNBA team. All right. That's the kind of money we're talking about, but it still wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It's never enough. The greed is never enough. Because her priority says, don't get me wrong, I get trying to not lose money. But what I don't get, one, is breaking the law, insider trading. But then two, which is preeminent, it should be number one, is the fact that you didn't warn even your constituents. Like at least Richard Burr, who should go to jail also for insider trading, at least he warned a small group of his constituents. We haven't heard a nary thing from this woman in Georgia. Nothing. Not a word. But she focused on her portfolio. Then she tweeted out last night, oh, well, these trades were made by third party brokers who manage our portfolios, et cetera, et cetera. Never did she admit or deny insider trading. But the thing that gets me, look, I don't really, I mean, the law is the law, whatever the case may be. And they should go to jail for breaking the law, because we would go to jail for, for like a bud of weed. We'd go to jail. But the part that breaks me apart in rage, not in sorrow, in rage, is that the people who should be protecting our society, or to serving the public, have put us in a situation where now we are going to be hurt. And now hurt, I mean, in unimaginable ways. And what's more, it's not only did they not warn us in advance when they knew about it, but now they're actively not doing anything. They're trying to make means testing for these checks that they're going to send out to people, right? They're trying to make, they're making it the checks that you're going to get based on your income in 2018, right? There are people who made probably $150,000, $200,000 a year in 2018 and don't make a dime now because they got laid off, because everybody's getting laid off. But our elected officials don't care about that. I swear on everything, we need a snap election. We need to replace just about I know that's a parliamentarian system feature. I'm just dreaming about the fact that we would have enough control over our political leaders that we could call a snap election and get rid of 95% of Washington, D.C. Because they are not only feckless and incompetent when it comes to managing this crisis, from the White House to the Speaker of the House. They are derelict in their responsibilities. But apparently they are inundated with a bunch of slimy, weaselly, rat-infested, criminally evil bastards who would be more concerned about their portfolio than the survival of their own constituents. We got to get these people out of office if we're going to survive. All right. Actually, before I move to the next story, I have to make sure I include Dianne Feinstein in this story. It's not only Jim Inhofe, Kelly Loeffler, and Senator Burr, who are involved in this. Apparently, it could involve Dianne Feinstein. I'm saying it with hesitation, not because I care about Dianne Feinstein. I want to be sure about something. Not that I have anything to prove to anybody. My audience, you know me. I don't pull any punches for anybody. If Bernie Sanders had done this, I probably would be more furious with him, more enraged with him than anybody else. Okay. And that on top of the fact, I mean, my principles on top of the fact that I just don't give a shit about Democrats right now. All right. But I also am more concerned about the disingenuous false equivalencies that are always put into the national conversation as a way of absolving Republicans. right? We don't do false equivalencies here. Dianne Feinstein sold her stock as well shortly after the date of that top secret. It's not it was top secret, but it was definitely a security meeting, security briefing. And here's the gag, though. Here's why I don't know if we could put this in the same category. Feinstein sold her stock after the stock had already dropped. The stock has since gone up. In other words, they lost money because of a bad decision. The stock that they sold was actually in a company that would go up during a crisis instead of going down. She sold her stock in a biotech company, a biotechnology company, which since the virus has shaken up the economy, everything else is crashing. The company she sold stock in has actually gone up in value. So the real crime of insider trading would be centered on her buying more stock in that company, not selling it at a low. She sold it at a low instead of buying more at a low after getting that information. I'm just not sure that it's equivalent. But what's going to happen, though, is the level of and I think we're at a place in American conference in the American. Here's my optimism lying to me. Let me just stop that sentence. I was going to say that I think we're finally in a place where we can we can separate between real arguments and disingenuous arguments that are meant to draw false equivalencies. But we'll see. Me and my damn optimism about the potential of us ascending above our pettiness, that shit's going to get me killed one day. Thankfully, I have the dark side of me that tells me that what is going to happen is going to be the same thing that happens all the time. And what has that been? Good question. I'm glad you asked. What happens every single time is that what we're going to do is we're going to see people make an equivalence between a person who just did a thing that is innocuous, but can be broadly categorized in the same thing that other people did that is downright evil. And they're going to draw an equivalence between that because everybody has to say, oh, both sides are the same. Both sides are the same in that they both suck. But the sheer criminality, the pure sadistic evilness of this current Republican Party, there's nothing that you can draw an equivalence between. If you want to say both parties are feckless, I agree. Both parties don't do anything for the working class. I agree. Both parties are bought and sold by corporations and billionaires. I agree. Neither party has any interest in actually changing the status quo. I agree. But which party is so goddamn evil that they will look at an oncoming crisis and instead of warning their constituents what they're going to do is take care of their portfolio? I mean, investigate Dianne Feinstein as far as I'm concerned. And if it turns out that she actually had some other insidious trades that took place, throw her ass in jail all the same. I don't give a damn what party you are part of. But I also have no tolerance for false equivalences that are crafted for the sheer purpose, for no other reason than to give Republicans yet another lease on life to continue hurting America. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I think 99% of all elected officials, Democrat and Republican in D.C., need to go. Dianne Feinstein amongst them. Get rid of all of them. We need to replace them now. There should probably be 10 people that are in D.C. right now who should stay because they're actually fighting as hard as they can to help us survive this. But everyone else from the White House to the Speaker of the House needs to go. But which one of them need to be prosecuted for insider trading? Well, let's let the cookie crumble the way it crumbles. Let's get all the rest of the evidence. All right, I'll move on to another story after this. Okay, getting ready to shift over to the patrons only episode. If you want to get the twice as much content with none of the advertisements, go to patreon.com/the BPD show and sign up for as little as $3 a month to become a patron. One last thing, billionaires are useless. Millionaires, a lot of millionaires are useless too, but let's focus on the billionaires. Because I know a handful of millionaires who basically are living paycheck to, they make huge paychecks, but they're taking care of so many people. Especially some black millionaires that I know. Black folks, we take care of our cousins, our auntie, and blah 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 blah. But I'm not going to have too much mercy on millionaires. I digress. Not even the point of this segment. Your boy Elon Musk has to be one of the dumbest people, most disingenuous actors, but definitely just sheer stupidity on the face of this planet, billionaire or otherwise. He's constantly tweeting this week about if there is a shortage in ventilators, he will repurpose his factories to create them. Then he started bragging on how difficult it is to send a rocket into space and how difficult it is to build the Teslas or whatever other factories he has, and that doing ventilators will be a piece of cake if there's a shortage. And I'm like, what planet are you on? The planet of obliviousness or the planet of gaslighting? You better hope you're oblivious. Because I'm telling you, man, we don't have much time. We don't have much more tolerance for all this gaslighting that's being done by politicians and rich people. We don't. I say this and I mean this. Like, if we could go out into the streets and protest right now, organize and protest like mass action, these people should be terrified, because I think we would have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the street demanding that this system change, not only in terms of our politicians, but in terms of billionaires. The hell you mean if there's a shortage? There's literally a shortage everywhere. So much so that rich people are trying to bribe manufacturers to build them their own private respirators and ventilators. Okay? And so you have a billionaire who has access to unlimited capital, the means of production, can actually repurpose his factories probably in a 48 to 72 hour period to begin working on the components of respirators and ventilators and any other number of things. I mean, the medical industry is going to run out of supplies very shortly, not just the ventilators and respirators that everyone is talking about, but just basic standard supply. They're already running out of masks, whatever. They're already running out of them. And here, a billionaire who has the capacity, the distribution channels on top of it to be able to solve a problem. And he's like, well, if there is a problem, just let me know and I'll go out and do something about it. I swear to God, the system better be glad we all are in quarantine, because otherwise we would take to the streets and protest in a fashion that would bring the powerful in this country to their knees, because they are failing us at every single stop. This is their opportunity to shine, not just shine. And I'm not talking about shine in a news cycle. I'm saying this is the opportunity of our elected officials and the rich people amongst us to shine throughout history. Helping to save us now is a historic moment. You would be talked about for generations to come. But instead of that, they're worried about their portfolios and whatever drug Elon Musk is doing that makes him oblivious to the fact that we are running short on every damn thing. Instead of rising to the occasion, this momentous, this historic occasion, they are proving that they are completely incapable of leading our society. And we've designed this system to revolve around these politicians and these billionaires and these corporations. We're the corporations in this. If I was a manufacturer and had any capacity whatsoever, I would retool not only for the historic moment, but surely because of the demand. And you don't have to charge exorbitant prices. Just charge a nickel more for a mask. Not 10 times the price, 20 times the price. Charge 10 cents more and make you a profit, a decent profit for your time. Shit, Charge enough to cover the cost of decontamination, of making sure that every single one of your workers is making enough money. Listen, like, we can pay. I don't think that there's anything wrong with paying, because we need you to send that money to your workers so that they can continue working and being healthy. But where are the corporations that are actually doing this? What they're trying to do instead, they're just laying off people, and they're trying to make sure that they don't, these quarterly profit reports that are coming out aren't too damning. That's what they're worried about. Neither are corporations, nor are political leaders, nor are billionaires are competent enough to lead us through this crisis. That's why we got to get rid of every single one of them. Every one of them. Every politician, with an exception of maybe 5, that number gets lower and lower every time I say it. Every billionaire, tax them out of being billionaires. 900 million should be enough. 500 million should be enough. Why? Because they're literally not doing anything to help us in the moment that all of humanity needs help. You know where the solutions are going to come from? The same place I always talk about them coming from. Actually, I guess I don't talk about it much on this show. The solutions are going to come from us, the people down here at the bottom, the people who are in the working class, and those who don't realize, I know you make $100,000 a year, but you're in the working class too. Because guess what? You got laid off. Guess what? You needed those hourlies. You needed to be able to go to work in order to make that money. You're not independently wealthy at $200,000 a year. You lost your job. Welcome to the working class. The ideas for our salvation are going to come from us, because we have always had to survive. These rich people at the top, these corporations, they've lived in the lap of luxury for so long. Their route to survive, their pathway to survival is asking the government, Boeing, for a $60 billion bailout when they're worth what, like $70 billion? They're asking for the government to give them as much money as they are worth. That's their pathway to survival. So when the rubber met the road, instead of retooling their factories real quick, I don't care how much. Sure, take $1 billion. Take $1 billion and all hands on deck. Repurpose your factories, a series of factories, in order to produce ventilators. Charge an extra, 10% for your efforts. Make you a profit and save a lot of lives. But instead of doing that, what do? They're saying, government, write me a check to replace everything I'm getting ready to lose. Now, who are the real leeches? The politicians are leeches. The billionaires are leeches. And these corporations are leeches. And we got to get them out of the way. I wish there was a way we could just vote every single politician out right now and replace them with a bunch of people who have all the ideas to save us. All right. We'll talk more in the bonus show. Patrons, you know the routine. Stay here. After this music, we'll continue. Everyone else, thank you so much. Stay inside. Don't go out this weekend. Stay in and help flatten the curve. And I'll see you Monday.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.